Welcome to the Wade Borth Podcast, where fresh thinking meets financial freedom. Each week, we explore ideas that challenge old habits and light the way to a stronger financial future. Let's get started.
Hello, welcome back to the Wade Borth Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about a really crappy situation. Boy, what does Wade mean by that? What do you mean by that, Wade? So I just want to put this in context is that the other day, I was going about my day working, talking with clients, and I needed to run down at home. I needed to run down in the basement. I go down there, and it's like, what's the brown stuff on the floor? And then all of a sudden it hit. Oh my gosh, our septic system's backed up. And the panic that goes through your head is amazing. I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, first thing I do is like, make sure there's no water running. It's like your mind starts racing. It's like, where do I need to go? And it's like, get stuff off the floor and like, make sure nothing else gets touched. And now I want to take a step back and slow that down just really quick, because what I did is like, okay, I moved all the stuff that wasn't being affected, got it all the way. It's fortunate I got a plumber that I called up, DJ's Plumbing, phenomenal people, by the way. You know, he was awesome. I called him up and I said, hey, got sewer backed up. We had a lift station. So he knew he'd been to our house before. He knew exactly how these things work. He says, go down there, unplug this thing, plug this thing, and it worked, and it pumped the sewage out. And he's, you got a valve or a switch that's bad, and that's not a problem. So how long before he can be there? In my mind, I'm panicking, like, what are you going to do for the next couple of days before he gets that? He says, I got some guys. He says, we can grab a switch and I can be there within an hour. I'm like, man, an hour? Fabulous. So I'm like, I'm going to start cleaning up. So I grab the stuff and I'm like, hey, and again, it's sewage, right? Backed up sewage. And so you're like, oh man, what do I do here? It's just, there's one of those things, if nobody's gone through it, it's a sinking feeling. It's truly a sinking feeling. And if you've gone through it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because everything it touches, everything you look at is like, that's got to be washed. So Lynette and I, we pulled stuff out, we're wiping it down, we're throwing stuff away. It did give us an opportunity to unload some baggage, as it were. Like, we've had this stuff around, it was just sitting there. So we threw some stuff, and again, some stuff was ruined that maybe we wanted to keep. So there's a little bit of give and take, but just the point is, like, I was cleaning it up and all of a sudden his guys showed up. They're down there for about 20, 30 minutes. They fixed the problem. Works great. Again, those guys were super professional. They came in and they did what they needed to do. But the point is, why am I talking about that? Why am I talking about sewage backup on the Wade Borth Podcast? What sense does it make? Well, I was thinking about this as I was cleaning up. I was like, how does this happen? Or just imagine this happening in your financial world, right? Think about this from your financial perspective. Have you ever had a sewer backup in your financial world? And what I mean by that is, like, I walk downstairs and all of a sudden panic sets in. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So you start panically running around, spending really some unnecessary steps, and because you're coming to the realization. And I'm thinking about this from, like, events that have happened throughout our lives, right? Events that have happened in the economy. I think of '08, I think of the pandemic. You walk downstairs and you start seeing the results of something that's happened that you can't change now, but now you're in the middle of it. And now how do you handle that? And so I'm thinking about what we do in what my friends at Factum do, and our agents at Factum, myself at Sage Wealth. What do we do when things like this happen? It's like, what are we doing? What have we done to prepare for things like that? And so immediately, again, this could have been way worse, but, and it still caused some discomfort. It still caused a little disruption, but it wasn't devastating because A, we kind of caught it early. B, we had people, connections in place, and we were kind of prepared, right? We absorbed it. That's right. So we just like, okay, we get some time and move some things, some appointments around, and we just handled the situation. And how does that relate back to a financial conversation? And because this does happen to people, this happens quite often to people, right? These events happen. If it's a divorce, if it's a death, if it's a downturn in the economy, something, again, '08 comes to mind, 2000, the dot-com bubble. These events will happen. They do all the time. And what are we doing to prepare for it? And so I think about, like, people with strong cash positions in their business, strong cash position. You think about it, we've showed the slides for the Fed where, the average business has about 30 days worth of liquidity. It's actually 28 days, a little less than 30 days of liquidity. But think about the sewer backup that happens in our economy all the time. Think about the sewer backup that happens in our financial world all the time. Events are going to happen. What are you doing to prepare for it? Do you have the mop and the bucket to take care of these things? Do you have the connections to be able to call and get it fixed? Are you preparing for those? Because these are things that, again, when they don't happen very often, but when they do, they turn your world upside down, because you can't ignore them. You can't just skirt around it. You have to deal with it. And so this is really what we talk about, from the sense of, I know everybody wants to hop in the accumulation conversation. Everybody wants to invest. They all want to see those big returns. But what are we doing to keep ourselves from being poor? What are we doing to keep ourselves from being flooded by sewage? What are those things that we're doing? Well, that's where really what I do and what we do here at Factor is that we take a focus on what's our buffer. We're creating a buffer for you so you can absorb those events so they don't destroy you. And that's really the conversation we have with people. Again, if you're only 30 days away from being illiquid and going bankrupt, boy, that's a dangerous game to play. So how many days of liquidity do you want? How many days of liquidity do you want to say, I have X amount of days of liquidity, because that's going to make me feel secure. That's going to allow me to sleep at night no matter what's going on in the economy. And that's the kind of conversation we want to have with people. First, we want to help understand what the problem is. And the problem most times is the lack of liquidity. And do we have liquidity contracts in place? And that's what we do. We help people with putting liquidity contracts in place. And if you need liquidity now because the sewer's backing up, you need liquidity at the time of death. Even people that make millions of dollars, sometimes I don't have much in cash and I can expect to go to the bank and take a loan or do whatever. But again, you're depending on somebody else to make that happen. So here's just a quick example when we're talking about burn rate and liquidity and how important it is. I thought we'd bring the sheet in. We'll attach the sheet to the show notes. So if you want to do this yourself, it's just one piece of the puzzle that we want to talk about. And it's one worksheet. So I'd encourage you to fill it out. If you don't like what you see, or even if you do like what you see, let's put it into context and what we can do about it. So as you can see, here's the liquidity sheet that we take from our Tough Money curriculum. And this is kind of where we come in and say, okay, how do we figure out what is our burn rate? It's really simplistic, really straightforward. So let's say our total annual expenses are $100,000. So let's say we got $100,000 of annual expenses. And so I'll just take a calculator, and we'll take 100,000, and we'll do divided by the 365. So if I do that, I'm going to get $280 per day. So, excuse me, that's not right. Just going to redo my math. So we take $100,000 divided by 365. There we go. It's 200. I've done this enough. I knew that number wasn't right. Basically $274 per day that we need just to meet our daily expenses. So again, something's happening, something happens in our life, we get sick, we get disabled, we're unable to work, the economy turns, we get fired, whatever happens, right? So we need $274 per day to live the lifestyle that we're living. But now the question will come is, how many dollars do we have in our liquid savings? Now, again, we want to talk about liquid savings. Liquid savings are not equity in your home, because there's no guarantee you can get. It's not your 401k portfolio, because there's no guarantees. It's hard to get that money without a lot of restrictions. So it's like, what do you have in liquidity? Immediately access to cash, right? So this is the conversation. We've talked about this, the flow of money and the path of money, which way it needs to take, but it needs to reside somewhere. Well, let's say you have $40,000 in what we call reserves. If you take $40,000, we divide that by $274, that gives us, let me slide down here, divided this by 274, and so you work that out, that gives me 145 days of liquidity. This is, my current days, or not my current, this current days of liquidity that's out there. Now, you might say, 145 days, that's great because it's way more than the average American. But again, is that enough for you to feel comfort? That's really where we're going to talk about that. So this is just a simple exercise. And the question is, what are you going to do? First, now we need to go back and you should say, what is my target days? How many days do you really want? Right? Do you want 6, 8, 10, 12 months? And most people don't, they think it's as a trade-off. And so I don't want you to think it's a trade-off. What if you could have your liquidity and you can get all the benefits your cash should be having? Well, if we hold it in our properly structured life insurance policy, you're not having to do that trade-off. And we can talk about that in a separate conversation. But this is where I would bring, somebody like me, have a conversation with me. Like, I want to have 300 days of liquidity. Okay, what can we do about that? You can either lower your expenses or you can increase how much money you're saving. I'm not against reducing low value spending, but more importantly, let's just start saving more. Let's having a bigger savings rate, building up that reserve, because again, that's where you're going to find true value when you start doing this. So what can we do to make that happen? Again, this sheet will be in the show notes, but let's have a conversation and we can definitely talk about how you can use this in just how you think about savings and reserves. So I guess my point is, like, what are you doing to plan for liquidity when you absolutely need it to survive an event, or quite frankly, even to thrive in an event? Think about how many people. I was talking with a gentleman the other day about, he was a real estate agent in Las Vegas in '08. And the difference between those two opportunities versus events, the negative events, is like who had access to cash. So really what we want to talk about, and the reason why I'm talking about this today, is like when things happen that are unexpected, again, what was it on my mind? It's always on your mind as a homeowner, right? You think of all the things that go wrong and like, are you prepared for it? We thought we were prepared, but maybe not as well as we thought. But again, once it happened, were we able to clean it up and kind of contain it to move forward relatively fast? And the answer is yes. And so what I want to offer to you, and I want you to start imagining, is like, what does your world look like if an event happens? Can you contain it, and can you clean it up, and can you move forward relatively fast? Or does it devastate you, and does it put you out of business? The difference there is like the thoughtful process. Are we being intentional about our savings? Are we being intentional about holding liquidity? Are we being intentional about having a thoughtful process, thoughtful conversation with somebody like me? It's going to give you that comfort so you can sleep at night. Because where financial pressure comes is when people don't have the liquidity, and it's always running at the red line. And if one little hiccup comes, one little bump comes, can we absorb that? Can we take that? And most people in the country say, I can't afford that. That would devastate me if I had to go a month or 2 months without income. For people that are making $100,000, $200,000, if they go a month without an income, again, we had a government shutdown. There's things going on. It's like, how are you going to survive that? What are you doing to plan for that and survive through that? Now, again, I'm not here to debate if it was right or wrong, but those are just events that are going to happen in your life. And what are you doing to prepare for? And so what it brings is, it brings a peace of mind, and there's no way you can put a rate of return on a peace of mind. So all I would ask is that you start thinking about this. How many days of liquidity do I want? How much do I spend every day just to break even? What is that, what we call burn rate? We have a series of conversations around that called the Fact of Tough Money course. And, we can get you some sheets so you can start, some workbooks, so you can start calculating there, because that's the most important thing. How many days of liquidity do I have? And what is my burn rate of my money? And how many days can I survive without an income, without money coming in the door? Because financial sewers will back up. They will make a mess. The question is, does it devastate you, or do you just, contain it, clean it up, and move forward? How do I avoid the financial sewer backup, the financial catastrophe? If and when it happens, it's going to happen. And how do I actually even thrive in it? What do I do in order to be able to, survive it, clean it up, move forward, and thrive in that situation? When everybody else is scrambling, you're going to be the one that's going to be sitting in a position of, I can sleep at night, and now I'm going to be out there looking for opportunities. So again, thank you for your time. Hopefully this message finds you strong, because I have no doubt that we're heading to a time that's going to be a little bit more difficult. So be prepared, get yourself prepared, get yourself financially in a position to where you can take advantage of opportunities versus trying to figure out, who to call because the sewer's backed up. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me today. Remember, small shifts lead to lasting change. Keep thinking differently, keep moving forward, and we'll see you next time.